uppercut, uppercut, sonic boom! Well, hello there, humans and earthlings, whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and if you're lucky enough indeed to be doing it too, welcome back to Channel and Bushkin. Today we're going to rate all the DMRs from 1 all the way through till, well, we're going to do it to 5. We're not going to include the VSS, because the VSS is, let's be honest, completely unique. And I've done whole videos on the VSS before. Just go search them up. They're right there. Please like the video, leave a comment, say g'day, if you've got any ideas on videos you want in the future, and just share the videos if you think it's worthwhile. We're going to look very, very deep into the recoil of these guns and into the statistics and the numbers that make them up. I will say one thing, obviously, if you've been around the channel for any length of time, you would know that this gun is going to come number 1, the Mark 14. I have this listed on my top 10 list on the Bushka website where all the real numbers are for PUBG Mobile. I have this listed as number 1 over the AWM, and there's a reason for that. We'll get to all that. It doesn't work though unless you put a lot of effort into it and you sort your sensitivity out. Like, I'm always adjusting that kind of stuff, as you can see here, working on my sensitivity. I started using thumb socks, and that's really changed how much sensitivity I need, that kind of thing. Anyway, long story short, the Mark 14 is going to win it. I will have a little bitch and moan here about this gun that I'm holding right now, the M416. And I do this pretty much every ratings video I do, because one of the reasons why I think DMRs are so undervalued is because people don't want to drop an M416 for anything. Look at this crate. All the level 3 gear's gone. Look what's in it. A Mark 14. The best gun in the game, in my opinion, is sitting in a crate after all the level 3 gear's gone, because they won't drop an M416. And this is one of the things that I think M416 really ruins the balance of the game. No one has to make any decisions on what gun to take when they can just run an M416 and they're safe. And it's easy and noobish. But no M416 is going to do this, man. This gun is a bludgeon. It's just a tool of mass destruction. It's ridiculous how good the Mark 14 is. Quick numbers on that. It's got the fastest time to kill in the entire game. On full auto, it's 0.18. It's the highest base damage DMR with a round that does 60.8. Its rate of fire is 0.0915 for a round that does 30% more damage. Anyway, this is how we did the recoil testing. The round starts and I shoot it and it goes all the way up to the top, and that's the highest point. That's the peak recoil, and then it recovers back down. That's called recoil recovery, to the point where it rests after everything stopped moving. That's what recoil recovery is, if you're wondering about it. That's why the light grip is so good. I will mention that I am going to rate all these at the end. I'll give you the numbers, but there are some surprises, and watch on, because I think for a lot of you who don't watch this channel regularly, if you are just stumbling into this video, I give the real numbers out. I do the work behind the scenes. Anyway, long story short, I'm going to compare the SLR first. This is one of the reasons why I have the SLR rated as the worst DMR in the game. And it's not even close, in my opinion. Anyway, let's go and look at the actual recoil graphs and stats. So let's look at this. This is the SLR versus the Mark 14. This may surprise you. The SLR has higher peak recoil than the Mark 14 when single tapping. And then it recovers back down, and you can see that the final groupings are absolutely favouring the Mark 14 when single tapping again, which gives you an idea as why so few people run the SLR. Now I want to talk about this gun on the left. Now this is the second highest well drop damage DMR in the game. And look at the groupings versus the Mark 14. It's incredibly tight. The recoil is low. The recoil recovery is excellent. What a fantastic weapon. It is the QBU. Now that's obvious if you've been watching this channel for any length of time at all. I'm going to show you some footage of the QBU now. And why am I so gung-ho about this? Because there's still idiots out there, and I call them idiots because that's what they are, who have millions of views on their YouTube channel. And you're an idiot if you do this. I don't care who you are. And they put up screen grabs of web pages that are PC numbers. On the PC, the Mini 14 and the QBU have the same damage. On mobile, the QBU has 9.9 more damage per round than the Mini 14. It has more damage, base damage, than the SKS, but it has a 937 meter per second shell velocity, the same as the AWM. It has a recoil profile that is as good as the Mini. In fact, it's the exact same recoil profile from all that I can figure out. So it shoots at an incredible rate. It has an incredibly high damage round, and it has an incredibly easy to handle recoil profile. Just Why more people don't think this thing is a freak is out of control. It's because they watch these bloody YouTubers who don't put any effort into their data collection. And even when I get it wrong, and I still get it wrong, like Hockey Rupp and Hutto sent me a DM the other day saying I've got to adjust my Kar 98 headshots for level 3 helmets. And I will, because you get it wrong, you get it wrong. But man, at least I try. And if you watch this info, the stuff I'm giving you, you can use that. You should be running the QBU on Sanhok, man. It is a gift. Let's have a look at the peak recoil in the SKS and the QBU. And I want you to note something. Look at the groupings on the QBU on the left. Like, they are legitimately crazy good. Just crazy good. And it's nearly exactly the same groupings as the Mini 14. Let's have a look at the Mini 14 now. Bring that up so you can see what I mean. This is the renowned Mini 14. Super fast shell velocity. Nearly 25% less damage than the gun on the left. But exactly the same recoil profile. Look at it. It's crazy. So the Mini 14 and the QBU both have such small vertical recoil amounts and are so easy to control. And yet everyone raves about the Mini, and the QBU hardly ever gets talked about. And I remember when I made my first video on Sanhok and I said, this gun does 54 damage, and there was all these lunatics, the same people who told me that all the 5.56 ARs don't do the same damage, the same people that look at the SCAR-L stats from PUBG PC and tell me that I'm wrong, that they don't fire at the same rate because the armory says differently. I mean, just want to pow right the kisser. Now, I'm going to break down, just hang on, I'm lowering the blood pressure. Calm blue ocean, calm blue ocean. I didn't have a lot of SLR footage. That could be a bot. I think it was a real person, but I had to show you an SLR. The SLR is actually very, very popular with TDM people. They love it, right? Because it just does big damage, and it's hard to miss when you're 5 feet away from people. Anyway, onwards and upwards. The best DMR in the game is the Mark 14. The second best, in my opinion, is the QBU. I just find it very hard to argue that you've got a Mark 14 that does 20% more damage, 25% more damage, 23% I think is the number, and has the same recoil profile and basically the same shell velocity, and it isn't the second best DMR in the game. It's nuts. The third best DMR in the game for me is the SKS. I actually prefer the SKS in the Mini 14, but on this one, if I had to list them as a tier, I'd have them in the same tier, and I could easily see an argument for one or the other. The SKS with a light grip and a stock, a cheek pad, and a compensator for DMR. Wow, that is a lot of recoil reduction, and it becomes very, very buttery smooth. Doesn't have the shell velocity of the Mini 14. Unfortunately for the SKS, it has the same shell velocity as the SLR, which is... No, it doesn't, sorry. SLR has the same shell velocity as the Mark 14. The SKS has 810 meters a second, as opposed to the 1,000 meters a second of the Mini 14. And that's the big difference between them, because I feel like the SKS has a much harder hitting shell. It has a recoil profile that, while not as good as the Mini 14, is getting there, but it just doesn't have that shell velocity. So between the two of them, you get a real choice for your play style, and I don't think you can be wrong with either. And then obviously we have the SLR on a tier on its own. Its recoil is quite simply far too high, and you can't alleviate it the way you can with the SKS. You don't get a lower rail attachment. So it's pretty crazy to have that much recoil and yet still, not have some other special source apart from the fact that you do more damage. And I mean, the Mark 14 is off the charts, has super fast versatility. Like, this is the most versatile gun in the game we're looking at right now. It can full auto kill faster than anything else in the game by miles. This thing is nearly, 40% faster than a bloody Uzi. Like, think of that. That's crazy numbers. And then you can single tap it like this. Show us your head. Tap, tap. No one lives through 2 headshots from this thing. Like, it's crazy. Absolutely mental. And once you get a handle on it, you can do all kinds of things if trees don't get in the way. This guy jumps out early, like, oh, okay, there you go. So there you go. That's the DMRs rated. I would also add that you should be using a DMR compensator or a sniper compensator on these at all times. The sniper compensator actually does more in terms of recoil reduction than the AR compensator does. Just remember that. Or a sniper flash hider. They both help more than the AR version does. I'm Bushka. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys are well. Hope you're having a good time. Hope you're having a good weekend. Look after yourselves. Stay safe in the battlefield. Share this if you would. That'd help me. And remember to vote for me. Vote number 1, the Bushka, when they have competitions and things. Go. Give me roses. Bye.